what are the real decision factors as you go from release 11 to release 12? One of the primary things that you need to think about is your history. If you bring over a year's worth of history when you re-implement, what do you do with the last 10 years of history? Most people who do a re-implementation keep that in a sunset instance. However, the problem with keeping that in a sunset instance is that that data is no longer consistent with the changes that you've made in your release 12 environment. Okay. So it becomes a legacy instance, and every time you want to access that data, you have to extract it and transform it into the format that it is in release 12. So if you want to do a 3 or a 5-year report, trend report, you want to load it into your data warehouse, you now have 2 loads to do to your data warehouse, 2 extracts to do for your trend reporting, and they're different formats and different code. And that legacy instance is very hard to keep and maintain, that legacy sunset instance. Not only do you have to still back it up, take storage space with it, but people usually budget for how many times they need to do that extract, transform, and load. And the customers that I've talked to have said that they underestimated the number of times that their users would need to go back into that historical data by a factor of 40. So if you estimated that over a period of time your users would need to access the historical data 100 times, you have to multiply that. Customers are saying that they have to multiply that by 40 times in terms of budgeting for it, because they've grossly underestimated how much people need the historical data for regulatory, statutory compliance, and for their data warehouse and trending reports. And then your release 11 environment may be pretty close to what you really need to do to run your business in release 12. There might be only a few things that need to be changed. But when you do a reimplementation, you have to go back, and if you decided on your earlier implementation, if you decided on a chart of accounts, you have to go back and revisit, is that chart of accounts the same that you want in your re-implemented environment? And so if you remember how hard those decisions were the first time you implemented, they're just as hard now. They haven't been made any easier, and in fact, some customers say that they're a lot harder because now they're global, or they're into new markets, or they have different users, or they've acquired a couple companies, and getting that consistency is a lot harder to do. And so those things can't be changed. The chart of accounts, the way your organization structure is set up, can't be changed by the upgrade script themselves. And so people think, well, I have to re-implement. Well, that's not true anymore. Okay. Now, all of those things can be changed with software in a way that makes that upgrade with all of your history a much more feasible alternative.